Me and
love
my
that
giant
mug.
mug.
Do you have like a whole cabinet full of mugs
I
and
have
shirts, mugs and
lots
shirts?
of, yeah, I collect mugs, shirts, and hats. Like I like winter Tukey hats. Like, yeah. Everybody's like, "Oh, you getting another hat?" Yeah, need one of those. My husband's always
You
like,
call them toques or Tukey's?
"Tukey." I guess that's right. I don't, I've always
Oh,
called them
just
Tukey. I
letters.
don't know.
We call them toques. I worked with a
Probably
band,
Tukes.
a Christian Canadian band, and
Oh,
so
wow.
I
It's
made toques,
aw, make me a
and I used to
toque.
sell them on our merch table with duct tape
Ah,
on it.
see? So creative. Speaking
So
of
this is
which.
what we're talking about today, is creative's gotta be creative, right?
Mhm.
What does this look like before the microphone? Before we started this creative journey,
Mm.
what did it look like before? What were we doing? Apparently knitting toques.
And a lot of other things.
So, yeah, we, Michelle and I were talking about this before we hopped on the video, and Michelle has, a fascinating list of creative things that you
Fascinating.
did before. It is fascinating.
Yeah, we were both creative. I mean, you had more skills, but I used to do like design and design people's logos and some stuff like that. I used to kind of be like a desktop. They called it a desktop publisher in the day, although I don't, that was a fancy word. I did like, I made up like newsletters and like creative
Yeah,
little things like that. But I never took the time to like learn the programs that I could have actually done. I could have done like game design. I could have done like I had that eye. I just didn't have that discipline to take the classes or to learn the software. So I did. I
right.
always tried to figure it out on the software I knew because I'm a creature of habit. I don't like change. That's so.
And
That
software
sounds.
is constantly
Oh my
changing.
god, that was so mean. Before doing this, as a lot of people know, I was an improv actor. I mean, for 25 years, I every Friday and Saturday night I worked in like murder mysteries, improv shows on boats in mansions. We did like a live game of Clue, like all these different venues. Talk about like a master class on like being able to think on your feet, switch
Right.
things up, change up things all the time, banter, be able to like have that conversation. Like I was best at like the one-on-one stuff, like the table work, like with the people, the one-on-one with the guests that would come in, the banter with my other actors. I didn't like leading. I didn't like being the like one who, the master of ceremonies who ran the whole kind of the mystery, like the detective or whatever. I wanted to be one of the side characters. And I was really good at that. So doing that small table work stuff was totally on brand for me. Like what I didn't realize later on was that it's like that intimate stuff, that one-on-one stuff is my brand. Like I'm not an announcer. I am a intimate, my voiceover is more intimate. So that is interesting. I've kind of learned that later on. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then, obviously this is a creative and that it definitely improv certainly helps what we do here.
I threw myself a big surprise party last night.
Oh yeah? How was it?
I don't know. I wasn't invited.
Had a going away party for my mother-in-law.
How was it?
Great, but she still won't go away.
I'm also like, I'm always busting at the seams with creativity. So I'm always like, I mean,
There's some
yeah, I love house design. Like I love helping people like declutter their house. I don't know if that's creative, it's more organizational, but I also like to help them make their space beautiful. Like my sister's always like, you got to help me like make this room pretty. Like I'm good at those kinds of
You
things.
can see things.
Yes.
That's where your design comes in, because you can
Yeah.
see if we move this here, this feels too heavy here, so
Hmm.
let's move
Yeah.
this up here. These
Informal
colors
balance.
balance
Yeah.
these out.
Somebody once told me like I missed my calling. I should have been like a caterer because like when was it? We have an event. I mean, everything is like the way I put it out, the way I lay it out. I have a few pictures from some events, just family events that I did. That's because that's what brings me joy. So it's like that creativity fills me but it also makes people feel like I like making something into a special environment. I always thought someday like I would, and this was probably would never happen, but in my brain I was like, oh, I'd open like a bed and breakfast kind of thing. And each room would have like a different feel, like a different time period. Like I love themes, like, you'd go to the 1920s, you go to the 1950s, like all the different, I don't know. I love themes. Like, I mean, if you give me a theme, I grab on and I am on writing that theme. I love that. And then also like more recently, you know, because of the voiceover, just things just morphed. I became a certified meditation teacher, and I've been
Yeah.
creating meditations. And then I became like a certified meditation teacher on an app called Insight Timer. So like people listen to my meditations on there, and I'm like on there like as a teacher. I'm like, really? Am I a teacher? But I'm a teacher. So that's kind of cool. And oh, I started like a t-shirt business,
Oh,
and I'm
yes.
wearing, yeah, like funny t-shirts, because that's what I do, comes out of what you do. Like I wear funny t-shirts, so I started designing funny t-shirts. This one's like a voiceover one. Can you read it?
Nice. Wait, go up just a little bit higher, and a heck of a lot to say. Nice.
Is it a girl? What is it? Just a girl with a voice and a heck of a lot to say. I thought that was cute, and little headphone, pink. I love pink and black. So I did that. Oh, I wrote a children's book and published it. I self-published it. At the time I was at a job, like before I went full-time here 11 years ago, I was at a job at a massage school, and one day on my lunch in an email, I wrote the entire book. It just like came out of me. I was like, I wrote
You
the
know, I
entire,
hear that. It's
yeah,
just, you
yeah.
felt like I need to write this down.
Yeah. Writing for me is always kind of comes out. I'll be like in the shower, and I'll be like, I'm out of the shower and I'm soaking wet, and I'm like,
You
I
know,
got to
go.
write this down. Yeah. Like I have to write this down. I've written plays. I wrote the story of my weight loss called Conversations with My Fat. I'm working on morphing that into like a short film. So I'm a writer for sure, actor, writer, and just creative, like in the sense of like creating things, right? Like the funny
Yeah.
t-shirt just comes
I
out of
think
like, I naturally want to do that.
And that's yes, exactly. And feel like so many people are afraid, like, but this is what I do, and what would happen if, there's no voiceover anymore and artificial intelligence takes over.
Mm.
I feel like you've spent a lot of time thinking about like, here's what I like to do. Like this, it's not, it's flowing out of you,
Yeah.
right? So let's say this m- moves on. Like, I feel like you still have so many things that you can do and say and collaborate with.
Yeah, creative. It's funny because all those creative things, I probably like wanted to do all those things, and I was doing all those things, but it's like hard to make money in a lot of those things. So this was like
Oh,
kind of
I
the first
agree.
thing that was like, okay, you're like,
This is
your
legit.
photography is like, but it's hard to make money in photography, right?
I
But
make
you are,
nothing. I
mm,
basically what I do from my voiceover just pours into lenses and camera and subscriptions so I can keep doing my photography. I'm like, photography is sucking the life out of my bank account
but
from
you're so
voiceover.
it's such a God-given gift to you. Like I wish I had that gift.
Well, but it's that creative journey of finding out, okay, what, I like this picture. How can I make it better? Or what is it that I like about this? And then it's the imposter syndrome of, wow,
Totally.
that feels really, I don't know, that feels like someone else, not me. How can I make it more me? And so it's like this years of picking at it. And it's the same thing with being behind the mic, right? Listening to yourself over and over and over. And then finally going, okay, that's my voice. I've heard it enough now. I wanna tweak it a little bit, like, it's still me, but how do I sound more like me, and, like, feel like the more you're behind the mic, the more you can
The experience.
settle into that.
Yeah.
It's almost like the settling, calming.
You were in radio before, and that kind of morphed into what you're doing now, as we said in a previous thing. But
Right.
also to tell me more about like the creative outlets you have
I've done.
mentioned. Yeah, which are a lot as well.
I guess, when you're a kid, you just are creative, right? And
Hmm.
then at some point, you have to figure out, well, I need a job now. I need to support what I'm doing, or maybe I got married, have kids. I have responsibility now. And so a lot of these creative endeavors kind of get shoved to the side, right?
Hmm.
And so when I was a road manager with a band, it was all like road managing, making sure everybody was on time. And like I was good at that. But then I picked up my camera again. I had taken classes in college at film classes. Like we would go in and
Nice.
develop the film and do the dodging and burning with
Oh
like
wow,
the
yeah.
light and
See, I
love
love the film work, but I don't want to do all that that you just talked about.
right. But you
But you
don't have
did all
to
that.
anymore.
I know. Well, but you
Yeah.
did all that, so you have that experience.
Yeah, it was a fun process, like, I can still smell the chemicals and
Hmm.
go through, like, the door, like, the revolving door was my favorite part. Like, light and then walk in and like, "Oh," but I digress. So I think doing like being on the road and having that like non-creative thing and then picking up my camera again and going, oh, I could take pictures of the band while they're like all these cool lights. And so
Fills
I,
you, right?
it does. And I think creativity finds you. You have to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Say, okay,
That's a good
I
way to
will.
put it.
And even though maybe I'm not very good, I'm going to do it anyway, not because I'm trying to make something out of it, but because it's calling me to something more.
You also had like a packaging business that was actually quite successful, right? Like,
It did very, very well.
yeah.
So that kind of came out of photography. Once I started taking pictures of the band, I realized, I really, really enjoy this. I love taking pictures of moments. And how do I make this into something? Well, then you shoot weddings. So I shot weddings and senior portraits. That's how I
Oh, wow.
made it into a business, and then realized there's terrible packaging options. It was like a jewel case. Like this is when we used to put like pictures on a CD, and
Mm,
the jewel cases were like plastic
yep.
and clear and scratched. And so I had craft paper and jute string, and I also sew because why not? So, so I sewed together a CD sleeve, and then I realized, hey, I could probably put my branding on this. So I ran it through the printer, and then I stitched it up, and then I put
Wow.
string around. So it was like this whole process of just creating something, threw it on Etsy. Everybody started wanting CD sleeves. And so I'm making thousands of CD sleeves. My husband and I are up at night, 2 o'clock
Oh
in
my
the
God.
morning, folding CD sleeves. We're like cutting out the little circle that
A lot of
goes.
work.
It's so much work. And then, long story short, it started at our house actually here that we are now, up in a loft,
Oh,
to
wow.
like my entire 1,100 square foot basement, 5 women coming in, creating these CD sleeves. We shipped them all over the world.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it just creativity exploding. And one of my negative parts,
Yeah.
that sounds weird,
No, I get it.
was just being organized.
Challenging?
Thank
Challenging
you.
part?
Challenging. Yes.
Let's go
One of
with
the
challenging.
challenging. Let's go with challenging.
It's a better word.
Memory is one of them. Memory and like trying. This is why I read scripts. I'm really good at reading things that are
Yes.
written down. Right.
Yes.
So, but having someone in place to be consistent for me, like to take
Mhm.
care of all of those emails that come in, so I can just be creative brain. And then they were there to like
Keep
take
it
the order,
orderly. Yeah.
and I showed them here's how we make them and make sure so it's that process of
Mm.
putting your personal touch on everything. And
Yeah. Well, that's what people
yeah,
want, right? That's why people go to Etsy or somewhere because they don't just want a mass produced thing that comes from China or
right,
whatever. They
right.
want something that's like created and
Handmade.
they'll
Yeah,
spend the money on that a lot of times.
right.
So are you still doing that a little bit or did you kind of stop
Not.
that?
I had to stop it because I had 3 kids.
Yeah.
I was completely overwhelmed. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my ADHD coming out in a very negative form.
Mm.
And I had to let something go, and I couldn't get rid of my kids. So I got rid of the business.
I'm kidding. Oh, well, gotta get rid of the packaging business. So, like,
Right.
what did you do? Did you just stop? Did people still reach out to you? Like, how did
So at one point my cousin had came on, and then we just regrew this business together because she had the business degree and
Yeah.
she was a business professor. And so she and I just took it and ran with it, grew it. And then at one point I was like, I can't. So she kept running with it. And
Okay.
she
Interesting.
eventually actually just sold it
Oh,
just not too long ago. So because she's brilliant in her own business world, and she owns like a bunch of
wow.
optometry, not optometry, audiology.
Oh, so interesting. All these
Yeah, I
interesting
know.
people.
And there's different, like you have creative ideas, and then you run into people who can help you with that.
Mhm. But you're still doing other creative outlets. Obviously, you still take your photos, but didn't you just recently go somewhere and photograph something like an Airbnb or something?
Oh yeah, there's a local friend here. She has a bunch of Airbnbs, and so I need to call her today because she just got her couch in put together. She's
Oh,
like,
wow.
more pictures.
Oh,
Yeah, there's that. And then I received a local grant to put on
right.
a workshop that's called, and I'm calling it the art of visual
Oh,
storytelling. So it's not just about taking a photo, it's like all these like composition and lighting and all
That's
of
so
the,
cool,
the
Jess.
feel of the room. Like, how do you capture that into a photo? And then on top of that, when I submitted the grant, they're like, can you be more specific and who your audience is? And I'm like, focus is one of my negative
Right.
things, one of my challenging things.
Challenging things, yes.
And
Yes.
so I was like, well, if I focus on businesses, how can a business
Mm.
capture the essence of their services and what they do to put in to capture a photo? Because a lot of people have a camera, they just don't know how to use it.
Yeah, no, I love
How do
that.
we use our camera to capture what we do, our services, our products, and share that with the world? And
Yeah, I love that you're doing that. That's so cool. That'll
how
help
about
people.
you? Do you have any
I
projects
know.
right
Well,
now that
this
you're
is a
really
little creative for us because we get to like
awesome? Yeah.
play with doing the video editing. I did that too. Like some people, like I've created videos of a lot of my work in different genres. So I've created like mishmash of like different work in like faith-based or like commercial narration, PSA, whatever. I've made I think I have like 12 different, ones I've created in iMovie, and that's creative for me. But that is a challenge that I've had to like overcome that, I don't want to learn new stuff, but I've learned enough that I've had to do it. And I've actually made videos for other people to help them, and they've paid me to do that. So that's, it's not like, would I want to do that all the time? Probably not, but I like dabbling in it. I love the
Right.
create. Yeah, I've always wanted to do filmmaking, but I'm like, I know like if I had been if I could go back, I probably would have taken a filmmaking course because I have all my stuff for my conversations thing, and I want to make a video, a film, but I would have to like hire someone, like I don't know how to make that happen. I need to hire,
Sure.
and it's okay. You gotta, your limits. Like you said, when you had those people, you hired people to like do the things because you're better at the create. Like I'm better at the
Right.
vision of it, and yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Do you
have
think
that
you're a
skill
better
too.
director? Like you can direct what
Probably.
that looks like? Because you are a fantastic self-director. Like in the studio,
Thank you.
in the booth, when you
Yeah. Thank you.
approach a script, you're very good at self-direction. So I
I
wonder
think
if
I
that
could direct it because I know I have a very strong idea of how think it should look. So I'd have to work with somebody who is very like okay with that kind of like, and I'm not like, I would say I'm not bossy, but Tony would disagree. I have a t-shirt that says I'm not, of course I have a t-shirt that says I'm not bossy. I'm the, or something like that. I don't know. Or no, Little Miss Bossy. I don't
little
think I'm bossy.
you're not. You're not. They said that when like our generation was little, if you were a little boy, you were a leader, and if you
Yeah,
were a girl, you were
you were
bossy.
bossy. Pain in the ass.
Oh, I was. I was bossy. You ask all my cousins.
Oh,
I
I
was the
love it.
oldest cousin, and we put together the manger scene for our family every Christmas. They're like, Jess,
Jesus needs to be where he needs to be.
I had shepherds walking off on me. Like, you get back. We need 3 shepherds. This is
Oh my
important.
God, I can
Back
picture
here.
this. How cute is
Yeah,
that?
I think she still was like, yeah, I didn't
Oh my
want to do
God.
that. I mentioned before, like I used to do legal video as well. It's not as creative, although, because I wanted to go into actually, I kind of wanted to go into filmmaking and being a videographer.
Mm,
And I think once I started doing more and more of that, still photography just spoke to me more. Like
more.
video, I just didn't latch on to the video
Yeah.
and the editing and all of that. But
Yeah.
um,
So, I mean, I guess if you're a creative, which you probably are if you're in this field, or at least have some of that, I mean, we just talked to Rhonda. She does a lot of creative stuff, like it's something where like it it fuels you, and it adds to you and what you do in the booth. So like embrace that. Think of self-care as taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit, but also feeling that creativity. Like, oh, that's something I've recently done. The kindness rocks. I painted
ah,
like I have a kindness garden out in front of my yard, and I painted like hundreds of kindness rocks. And they're just so fun to make them these bright and sparkly and like happy sayings. And like, I feel like that's bringing joy into the world, but it fills me too. Embrace your
taking the
creativity.
time to develop the
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah. Embrace it. Maybe it's not the first natural thing, but embrace it, and yeah, let it add to your life, I guess. Thanks for watching.